Hey, it's Sparrow. Welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. So today I have two lives that I really want to talk about. I did actually record a video maybe a week and a half ago. There were several lives that I talked about in that video, but ultimately I decided to just kind of shelve it for the time being because recently, for a multitude of reasons, um, I have been feeling very fatigued, and there was a solid chunk of time where I walked out of lives either early or just in a very bad mood, and in most of those cases, I would say I don't actually think it was the band or anything like that. I think it was just me being absolutely exhausted to my bones and just not being able to enjoy it as much as I would want to. And because of that, I didn't feel like posting the video was a good idea, just because, especially this early, and feeling like I was maybe not able to provide an objective opinion or anything about most of those lives. I just felt like, you know what, let's put that one aside. And also, I would say there were a lot of taiban, and with taiban, I tend to struggle a little bit with it. They don't always post the lineups, and so unless the band has merch, it can be very difficult with bands that you don't know, just knowing which band it is. And so it can be very difficult to talk about the bands at these tiny little taiban where you probably have only heard of maybe like 2 or 3 of the bands. And so I think I will probably not talk about the taiban as much in the future unless there's something really notable, rather than trying to talk about every single live that I go to. So that's the first thing. The second thing, there was actually a live that I talked about where I actually had a very bad experience. And again, this one was not the fault of the bands at all, but it was a bad audience. And it took me out of commission for a little bit because it was a bunch of bands that I've heard of before but don't really know very well. I was there to see Oideo Yudes and the Gallo. And then after that, I want to say was Jigsaw, and then Mamireta. And I will be honest, I have experience with the first 3. Mamireta, I know, is very popular, especially popular with foreign fans, but I don't know. I don't know their music. I've never been to one of their lives, and I did not get a good first impression. I actually didn't get to see the band, but I was kind of in the back for Yudes, just because my number wasn't bad, but I had to come from school, and so I wasn't able to go in when they were calling numbers. And that's not a big deal. But I have never seen an audience be as disrespectful as I saw at that live, because my God, like there were two girls in front of me that, like, I'm gonna guess this is like a Mamireta thing, but it was already announced that Oideu Yureis was the opening act. And there was an audio recording of a guy talking, and like all the girls in the Mamireta shirts went nuts. So like I'm guessing that's the vocalist. And like, so he was just talking, and so these girls in front of me, like, they kind of switched places. I'm not sure. But I did notice before everything started, I noticed they were speaking English and they had American accents. So that's, and of course, like, I know that they're very popular with foreign fans. There were a lot of foreign fans in the audience that day. And when Oideu Yureis came out, not only could I feel like the energy dropped hard, it almost felt hostile. And the girl in front of me was on her phone scrolling the whole time. And that really kind of upset me. And so that was already, like, I was very irritated. And then in between sets, I was talking to some of my friends, and someone shoulder checked me. And I do have a disability, and my balance usually is fine, but some days are worse than others. And so this guy shoulder checked me, and I fell backwards. I hit my head on the wall, and initially I didn't know that I hit my head, but I was like, that's it. I'm done. I've had it. I've had it with this live. I'm going home. And when I was walking home, I started to notice, like, oh, my head really hurts. And I am, like, walking like I've been drinking heavily, and I had a Coke. So that was kind of my clue that I probably had hit my head. And sure enough, I kind of had some residual effects for about a week. I had to cancel my shifts at my part-time job. And so, yeah. Please, Mamireta fans, do better. Okay, on to happier shit. I suppose not yet. There will be happy shit, I promise. But the next one is, I did finally get to go see Gatochou One Man with the new vocalist. I think his name is Nao, and I can't remember the name of the new bassist. Unfortunately, I was trying to pay attention to everybody, and so far the bassist just doesn't stand out to me at all. Like, very pretty, cool aesthetic, but they're just, like, I tend to prefer bandmen who, like, really perform and emote when they're performing. And so, yeah, he just kind of sank into the background for me, and that was disappointing. It's like, Hiyori was not my favorite, but, like, I don't know. Like, they had a good dynamic. So anyway, I had said before that I really wanted to wait and reserve judgment about the new lineup and where I saw things going with me and Gatochou until after I could see them live. And I really wanted to do that very early on before I could have too much input from outside sources to color my vision, and unfortunately that wasn't able to happen. So I did come in with more bias than I wanted, especially because about a week ago was when Gatochou removed all of the tracks from everything that had Souma singing. And this really upset me because, like, I did see the notice and it did say to make sure that you downloaded the tracks before they took them down. And I misunderstood what that meant because I use Apple Music and I did have them downloaded to my device in the sense of, I clicked the download button and I thought that was enough. Like, I thought it was essentially going to be unlisted unless it was saved. But no, they vanished off my device. And I had, at that point, no way of getting them anymore. Except there are 3 singles that were released on CD, which I did manage to pick up from Like an Edison and Little Hearts. But that still left, I think, 5 or 6 songs that were digital release only, including my favorite song, which is Odoru. And so I am really feeling a little betrayed by the fact that they took these down. And I've heard differing opinions on what is going on with this. So I'm of the impression that these are just gone. That they're wanting to make a clean break and build up with this new vocalist. They are, of course, still performing all of those songs live, but I think they just don't want to have people comparing the two. Other people have said that they're pretty sure it's just they're not using that particular distribution service anymore, and that once they get something new arranged, that those songs are going to come back. The reason why I don't really think that is necessarily the case is because they already have their new single with the new vocalist on streaming. And so I would think if they have distribution set up with that it would be pretty easy to, they ended the service or the contract with the other one. Now we're going to move it on to this, if that was the plan. But I will say this is all speculation at this point, and I could be proven wrong, and I really hope to be proven wrong. But that was really rough to have happen before going to the live. And so I did go in with a much harsher negative feeling from that alone. But here is kind of my unfiltered, honest opinion. So they have the newer songs that they played, and they played those songs fairly early and then transitioned into the more familiar songs. And there was one of the new songs that I actually did really enjoy. It was called Naraku no Hane. That song I thought was really, really good. The other ones I really didn't like very much. The tone of the new songs and really the tone of the performance and the live in general was a lot darker than it was with Souma. And of course, it is completely expected that there will be some changes. I mean, especially if you look at bands like with very notable eras like Malice Miseru, they're, Tetsu is very different from Gakto, which is very different from Klaha. So that is something to be expected. And that is also why I really wanted to wait until I could see them live before I made my decision or made my determination. And yeah, the tone was really dark. And that's fine. I have plenty of bands that I love that have that kind of dark vibe. Gatochou was a band that I loved for being fun. Like, even when the songs were very dark or kind of creepy or sinister sounding, it still always had a bit of a lightness to it, that it was really fun. Like, you could hear the fun, the playfulness. And that playfulness is something that I really missed in this performance. And I think it's really noticeable with Hirotaka. So I pay a lot of attention to drummers, especially really good drummers, and Hirotaka is a really good drummer. And you can tell when you watch him play that he is having a blast. And I noticed that, I don't know if it's because of the vibes on the stage or because they changed his visual to be more cohesive with the rest of the band. It's like they went really hard on looking cohesive, which, if you look at past Gatochou visuals, they don't tend to be that cohesive. Especially Hirotaka is usually, the way I've been describing recently is that he's a bit of the band's eccentric uncle, is what I would describe his on-stage persona and style as. And so even if the rest of the band was somewhat cohesive, he would just kind of be there looking like he was just hanging out from a completely different band. And, it kind of worked for him. I really enjoyed that. But during the live, I noticed several times when he would start to get really into it and he'd start smiling and getting into the performance. And I noticed that it didn't really feel right. The best way I could describe it is it seemed like he was going off script. Because, like this is a band that has a lot of banter and, like, they poke fun at each other a lot. And this kind of felt like it felt muted. Until after, like, they really didn't talk too much. They didn't interact too much. And it felt like I wasn't even seeing them emote much throughout until after the encore. And so whenever he would get really into it and he'd start smiling, and it felt like he wasn't playing the role. And that, I don't know, it just, the whole thing was very off to me, and I didn't really enjoy that. And then the vocals, I thought the new vocalist, he actually has a very good voice, and I can see why they chose him. But he really enjoys doing this like pig squeal. And I know that there are bands that do this, and I know there's people who love it. I am not one of those people. I absolutely despise the pig squeals. And I will even say, it's like I have, when it comes to growling, I don't love when a band has an over reliance on it. I prefer it to be a garnish. The pig squeals, I don't want at all. I'm sure there's probably a couple of bands that have slipped into my regular rotation that do it occasionally, but for the most part, it is something that just I find grating, and I don't like listening to it. And I remember when I got into Gatochou feeling like this was a band that sounded so unique and was able to do so much without relying overly on growls, squeals, etc. Like, they really put a lot into their songwriting. And because of that, I feel like they're a really good band from a musicality standpoint. And so, to me, putting those in more feels like a crutch. And I just didn't like it. There were a few times where I was starting to get into it, and I was starting to feel like, okay, I think I could get used to them. I could start to enjoy this lineup. And then he would do the squeal, and it was like physically painful, and I would recoil. So, yeah, I don't really know if I'm gonna be able to keep going, and I have pretty much decided that I am not going to try again until they make the Souma tracks available in some form, because I just feel like when it comes to those older songs, I don't want to forget how Souma sang them. And, you know, if they were to release re-recorded versions with the new vocalist, then, you know, great. You know, if I enjoyed that track, I would happily listen to it alongside the Souma tracks. But there's certain songs like Odoru, which I would absolutely be devastated if I forgot the way that Souma sang them. And I'm afraid that if I were to keep going to Gatochou lives, that my memory of those versions would be slowly overwritten with the new vocalist. And so until I have the option to listen to the old ones again, I just am not going to go see them anymore. And it does make me sad, because I feel like they're still finding their new identity. There's good things. And it could become really awesome. I want it to be really awesome. But again, just don't take it away from us. I just don't think that that's right. I have even said, if they wanted to release a CD that was all the Souma tracks and, overcharge me, like charge 10,000 yen, I don't care. I will pay for it. It's like, I want these. Like, you don't have to, make them available for free on streaming. Like, upcharge me. I don't care. Just make them available. So that's that. I did try to get Cheki because I wanted a Hirotaka, even though I feel like I don't really like his current visual. But, I still wanted one. And unfortunately, the last Cheki sold out, literally the person in front of me. And I tried looking around, and the people that I saw who had Hirotaka would not sell them, which is, that's fine. That's their prerogative. I tend to prioritize just getting something of my favorite. But in this particular one, it happened to be impossible. And I wasn't even able to check with everybody who had one, because by the time I made it outside, the staff was already telling everyone to disperse. So I only really got to ask about 2 to 3 people. And so that's unfortunate. I did, however, get the new towel because it is pretty much all of my favorite colors. And so, yeah. I have a towel problem. I know. So, unfortunately, that one is more critical, but I feel like I had a lot to say about it. And yeah, so please, guys, just give us the Souma tracks back so I can start going to your lives again. Anyway, on to happier things. This week, I went to, let's see, was it 2? Okay, I had 2 this week. One I really don't have too much to say about, but it was a Kaos taiban, and I got there late, but I still got to be on Saizen. And I also, so they have new goods, including photo sets, and they have a gacha with can badges, and they introduced an Atari version, so a winning gacha, and I got one of them. And unfortunately, I have been sworn to secrecy about what the winning gacha will get you, but I am quite pleased about it. Definitely worth the gambling. Anyway, so that's all I really have to say about that one, because yeah, this week is the last week before summer break, and it is crazy busy, especially the beginning of the week was very, very busy. So I got there late, watched Kaos, left right after. So Tuesday, however, as busy as I was, there was absolutely no way that I was going to miss this. Hibiki from Matenrou Opera had his solo drum one man. Again, we stan a drummer. So I was already super excited because Loa, who is this really amazing support drummer, if you are not familiar with him, it is entirely possible that you actually are, because he plays with a bunch of different bands that are quite popular, including, I believe he plays with Jigsaw. I don't know if he always plays with Jigsaw or if he sometimes does. Usually I see him with Tsukishigure, but Loa announced this year for his birthday live, he is doing a solo drum one man, and I was super stoked about that because I was like, oh my god, I've never seen a solo drum live. And then a couple of weeks later, Hibiki announces that he's not only is he doing one, this is like his second one. And I got into Matenrou Opera like way back when I was in college, around like 2006. Actually, I don't know, were they together in 2006? As in like 2007, 2008, about that time I started getting into them. But I didn't really pay attention to the band members. I know they've had several lineup changes. So when I got into them, Hibiki was not the drummer. And I'm not sure if the live that I first saw of them was in 2017. I don't know if he was the drummer at that point. If anybody knows, please leave that in the comments. But I know he kind of came onto my radar when I got into Mazari, because he does support drummer. He's a support drummer for them. And I remember finding that out and just immediately going like, oh, no wonder the drums in the Mazari songs are so amazing. Because if you've never listened to Matenrou Opera and really focused in on the drums, they're nuts. Cannot recommend enough. Hibiki has his YouTube channel, and he does have some Matenrou Opera songs that are the drum cam. So if you are curious, definitely go check out some of those, because he is such an amazing drummer. You'd have to be an amazing drummer to perform with Matenrou Opera. There's no getting around that. So they anyway, so I remember those tickets went on sale on May 31st, because I bought them when I was at the vkei like final live. And yeah, so that was on Tuesday, and I was really surprised when I got there. Well, first I remember when I was walking towards the live house, which was Nishiogi Betty Room, which I have been to twice before to see Dolly. And if you're curious, like, Betty Room, like, yeah, it is actually Betty Boop themed. Because that was definitely where my brain went the first time, thinking there's no way it's that. No, it is that. So, like, painted on the walls, like, it's a thing. And I was really surprised when I walked in that it was a seated live, and the drum kit was on a raised block in the middle of the floor. And so I didn't have a great number, but I did manage to get a seat in the third row in front of the drum kit. And just happened perfectly framed, so I couldn't see like the drum kit as well, but I was able to see him. And like Hirotaka, Hibiki is, as far as like drum performances, he is a joyous drummer. Like, you watch him and you just feel happy because you can feel how much fun he is having and how much love he has for hitting his drums. And I love it. Every time I have watched a video of him or I saw him at the Mazari drum set, and it it is undeniable that he just absolutely loves what he does, and it's infectious. So I was so happy that it was actually framed so perfectly that I could watch his face and his body. So yeah, that was really, really good luck on my part. But when I was walking to the live house, I noticed a Chucky on the ground. It was quite far from the live house. And I noticed it was a guy in a red tracksuit making a really funny face. And I thought about picking it up, but I opted to just leave it. And as I was walking, I was like, I wonder if that's actually a Hibiki Chucky. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I do have mild face blindness, so I couldn't tell. But just from context, I was like, oh, I wonder if that was one of him. And there are some times when a live's going to be really crowded. Sometimes they will actually sell in advance. So I was even questioning, was it an old Chucky or was it one that was sold today? But again, I just left it where I found it. And during the live, so there was a whole thing that if you sent in a question, it would be possible they would do a drawing for a present. And the present, it was like, I'm not sure what it's called, but like the drum cover. It's like, I'm a drum enthusiast. I am not a drummer. I don't actually know what all of the pieces are. But it was signed and it said like Hibiki birthday live, had the date and everything. Sadly, I didn't win. But afterwards, though, he was like, oh, there's one more present. And he reaches into his pocket and says, I found this on the street. And he pulls out exactly the Chucky that I saw on the ground. And he was like, oh, is this anybody's here? Whose is this? And it was a girl kind of a row or two behind me. And he was like, I can't believe, like, even with a weird face like this, that you carry this around, and that makes me happy. And I was like, oh, he's so cute. And I loved how he framed that as, oh, I have one more gift. Like, he really planned out, like, he was going to do this thing. And I felt like it worked, at least on me. I was like, oh, that was cool. And waiting around for the start, one of the things that immediately struck me was the entrance music was Love So Sweet by Arashi, which I don't know. I don't know what the overlap is between vkei fans and like Bangya and Japanese drama fans. But if you are not aware, Love So Sweet by Arashi was the opening theme song for the Hanayori Dango sequel drama series. So Hanayori Dango 2. The first series, it was Wish, but the second one was Love So Sweet. And definitely check it out because, yeah, I can very, very much guarantee that that was not the type of song that I expected him to come in at. But, like, he comes out and he's pumped with this, like, really lovely idol ballad playing and starts, like, playing drums to it and, couldn't write it any better. And, doesn't really address that. And, didn't really expect him to. But when he was leaving, the exit music that he played was One Love by Arashi, which was the theme song for Hana Yori Dango Final, the movie that was released to officially finish off the drama series. And he played it off as like, oh, Arashi are so great, aren't they? And I'm over here going, I see what you did there. You can say it's like, oh, Arashi is so amazing. But I have a feeling the real message here is that you like Hanayori Dango. So I was not sure coming into this, like, what was a drum solo live going to entail, because I have seen drum solo songs before. Nero from Meri used to do quite a few. They were called like Nerorism. And, usually it would just be him playing drums. Sometimes there might be a little bit of instrumental backing, but not like a song. Just like little bits recorded here and there, or drum solos where he was playing with a taiko group or playing it with himself. That sounded wrong, but like if you watch the which one was it? The White Sheep, Black Sheep. During the White Sheep, Black Sheep live, I want to say it was the second night, Black Sheep, the very first one. It was released in 2007, I think. That one, they had a pre-recorded thing with him in his White Sheep costume, and him live in his Black Sheep costume was playing a duet with himself. And so those are kind of what I have experienced in the past when it came to drum solos, songs, but I didn't know what was this going to be. So he actually was playing with instrumental tracks that were, of course, like minus the drums. And he had it broken up into different sections, and the sections were separated by like little MCs. So unfortunately, I couldn't tell you like the names of most of the songs, but I can say he started off, he had like a cover corner at first. I think I heard him say like he did at least like one back horn. Pretty sure he did a back horn song. I don't think he posted a set list. I wish he had. But that was one. He had a Matenrou Opera corner, obviously. And I really especially enjoyed, he did a support corner. And of course, he started with Mazari. And he very specifically chose a Mazari song that is very heavy with like pretty much non-stop movement on his part from the drums, except for like little tiny moments where the drums would just fall out altogether with all the other instrumentation, and just like this very like saita, like, and then it would get back into it. So I thought it was a really interesting choice of Mazari song to use, and I think he did it on purpose because, at least from what I could see, most of the people that were there were there for like Matenrou Opera or God, I wish I could remember the other band that he did support for. Is like, it started with an H, and like there were several people that were really excited for that song. But Mazari, it seemed like it was just me and one other person that actually knew that song. So he did spend a little bit of time in his MC talking about how cool it is that there are idol groups that do music like that. And so I think for that audience, I think he wanted to choose a song that not only was a fun drum song, and he did point out, like, which I could definitely tell it was a difficult song on the part of the drums, because seriously, he almost never stopped moving. Like the bass drum, it was so quick. But like, I think he really wanted to be able to show off this unique project that he is working with to an audience that maybe doesn't know about it yet. So yeah, and then I think that's, for the most part, that's kind of what I remember. And yeah. Oh, there was a point actually, or in the middle of a song, the power just cut out, and not the entire power, like the lights were still working, but the mic wouldn't work, and the music backing stopped completely. And so while they got that sorted out, he did a bit of an impromptu, like, okay, let's pull out some questions. And yeah, it was a really fun evening. I wish I could tell you more about the questions and some of the answers that he gave, but unfortunately, like I said, I was very distracted with just, I'm so tired from all of this stuff from school. And so unfortunately, most of the MC and the actual question answers, my brain just data dumped. So that's a little disappointing. And I would have loved, so talking about goods, they had a t-shirt, and they had it in white and black. And originally I wasn't planning on getting the shirt, but I actually did like it a lot better when I saw it in person, and I don't have a lot of white t-shirts to wear for summer, so I did grab one, but unfortunately it's in the laundry right now, so I can't show it to you. But it is like, basically it's just his signature, and then it has a little tag on the corner in the front that it is, weirdly, it's like if you went to certain ramen places where they'll have like, okay, how firm do you want the noodles, or how rich do you want the broth, how much oil do you want, and it has like different options and you can circle. It's one of those. And I don't mean it's like, oh, it's based on that, like, no, it's literally, it's just one of those. And I do not ask me. I do not know the context, but I did think it was funny, especially because I didn't know what it said until after I bought it. I just saw like all of his shirts, like not even like all of them, including shirts that are clearly from like previous years. They all have the same tag. I saw other people wearing them. So I thought that was funny. So I did get that t-shirt. And if I wasn't so damn busy this week, if you bought 5 checky, you could do a 2-shot. I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it so badly, but I knew I do not have time. I have to go home. I have to work on this report because it's due in the morning, and the live started late too. So it was a 7 o'clock start time, so it didn't finish until after 9. And so I was like, I would love to, but I can't. So instead of buying 5, since, I can't do the tokuten, so what's the point? I just bought 2. And you can see, hello, Mr. Guy. So here's my Hibiki, and I have him being all crazy. And you can see, like, this is kind of the design of the shirt. Except of obviously his has been doctored. And then, like, I absolutely adore this photo. Like, sticking his tongue out and just a little... So I'm very, very happy with the checky that I got, especially because I'm not even sure. When I went to see Matenrou Opera last month, I can't honestly remember if they were selling checky. I don't feel like they were. So please let me know if I'm wrong, but it feels like having checky of him feels a little special. So, okay, I actually talked way longer than I expected to, and also I expected to just talk about 2 lives, and I did spend more time talking about that really bad taiban. But I did kind of want to show off. So today's t-shirt is my Tsukishigure t-shirt, and yes, I really like this one. It's a really comfy t-shirt too. So it's a very soft, not too thick cotton. So, and the design is pretty cool. It's just a logo, but on the back it has some kanji and stuff. So yeah, if you like Tsukishigure, I actually do think this is a really comfy shirt, and I recommend it. And then another thing I just kind of wanted to do for this video. I don't know if I'll do it all the time, but for this one, so in my little nook, you've probably seen, I tend to have a couple of plushies over here. I do collect plushies, and I very specifically enjoy kind of weird plushies. And so a lot of times I'll just kind of sit with one while I'm recording. And so here I just wanted to introduce you to Cave Bear. Cave Bear, he is from a brand called Perished Plushies. Perished Plushies is an indie, and by indie I mean like it's one artist that he does like crowdsourced projects. And so this is from his second Extinct Mammals collection, and I absolutely love his designs and his plushies. And this one, I remember when it came, it was a little bit, the places with the embroidery were very crunchy, but I have kind of mushed him about a bit, and so now it's really not that crunchy anymore. So it actually is a lot better from a sensory perspective. And And he did have kind of felt teeth here that I really didn't like, so I cut them off. But yeah, apart from that, like, he is one that I really, really like, and I do recommend Parish plushies if you like weird stuffed animals like I do. Just expect long wait times because he's a one-man operation, and so things take a long time from the production standpoint, and then they take even longer once you get into actually shipping. And one of the fun things about this particular design is, I think this is a radish with a little skull on it, but the cave bear, and none of the other ones in this collection had it, but the cave bear, he has these magnets, and there's also a magnet in the radish, so you could have him just holding it like that. But I typically like to have him kind of cuddling it like this, and I don't know if I showed you this. So yeah, he's my cuddle plushie for this video. So all right, I'm gonna leave it there, and god damn, I talked a long time. So if you actually stuck it out through the whole thing, thank you so much. And I would love to hear if you went to any of the lives that I talked about, or have seen these bands before and you want to share some opinions or experiences. I would love to read about them in the comments. So until next time, bye.